guys are ridiculous. These guys are...
And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Tuesday, November 2nd, after the Celtics lost to the Chicago Bulls. And we were saying this before we started recording. We have a lot to talk about, but at the same time, Sam, I don't know what else there is to talk about at this point. I'm just kind of baffled. Like, what's going on?
They blew what could have been their best win of the season. So we'll start off, like, I guess, positive if you like, because, all right, so was last night's loss absolutely terrible? Yes. Should they be embarrassed? Yes. Were there some comments post-game that we're going to have to talk about? Yes. Okay. All right, but how did we all get here? So what we saw yesterday through 3 quarters is the reason why we are all so upset.
It's phenomenal because they looked phenomenal. They looked
exactly
great.
That, and I discussed with my friend who is not like a green teamer today. Like he's just better. Like, he doesn't really care if they win or lose if his money's not on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he agreed that team, what we saw, is not a fluke.
No, they're really good.
That is what you're capable of every single night, and you are 2-5, and 4 of your 5 losses are games that you could have won, meaning that day you were in the game. All of your losses are games you could have won. Toronto isn't a world-beating team, even though they are better than expected. You still should have been able to compete with them and not get blown out by 40, okay? So with all of that being said, the Celtics played a really great game through 3 quarters. Positives. 1, Chicago started off shooting lights out, made their 6 of their first 7 threes. I don't know if they continued to be hot.
7 in the first quarter. They made 7 in the first quarter.
Okay. And the Celtics won the first quarter. Okay. Chicago comes out in the second quarter, starts a run, goes up 10, quick 10-0 run. Jaylen Brown by himself, 10-0 run. Catches fire, okay? Celtics go into halftime, not only with a lead, but they add on to their first quarter lead. They win the second quarter despite falling down 10 points early. That's an 18-point swing by the end of the quarter. They manage it. Third quarter, they continue to build the lead. End the quarter up 17 points. Dennis Schroeder's out there getting to the rim, getting to the line, making some threes. He was only 3 of 10 yesterday, which shocked me when I looked at it today. Felt like he played better. He started cold, but he really carried him in that third quarter. Okay, so now you're in the fourth quarter. You're up 17 points, I believe, at the very beginning. You score 11 points, and you give up 40. You do not get a single defensive rebound. 1, because every shot Chicago takes is just about falling, and it's an easy shot. It wasn't even fluky. Levine, I still am not sold on him, is getting to the rim every single time on you. And you'll disagree, but I mean, before that quarter, he wasn't doing anything. So
no, he had a rough game before that, and then he turned it up.
Okay, so he's killing you. DeMar DeRozan all of a sudden wants to shoot threes, which he's never done.
He was great all game.
Yeah, 37 points. I mean, I guess shout out to him. Fantastic. You played the Celtics. You superhuman abilities. That's just how it goes.
Their rookie, played great out of nowhere. Ayo Dosunmu, that's his first double-digit scoring game.
He was 6 of 6. I mean, it's clockwork, Jack. It really is. But all jokes aside, and all, the Celtics always get the short end of the stick. They blew the game. They're up 19 points at one point. They're at home. The place is jumping. It looks fantastic. It looks like everything that all of us fans expected, and you still managed to lose the game. I had a bet on this game that Horford would get a double-double. And he was subbed out with 9 rebounds, and in the third quarter, and I was texting my boy, and I said, I'm afraid he's not going to go back in, because I thought the game was going to be over. The bet hit. Celtics lost.
It wasn't even Chicago's starters that brought them back in the game. It was the lineup of Derek Jones Jr., Caruso, Dosunmu, Tony Bradley. Like, that's just not okay. And you can't go into a game playing that well. And like you said, they played really good. And it's not like the Bulls are a bad team. They're a good team, clearly. And I'm not. That's not an excuse for the Celtics to lose that game. They have no business
The
losing that game.
Bulls, the Bulls showed that they are a good team because of the fight they
Yeah.
had. However, I mean, they're no like Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, they're
Still the
not. But
Bulls. I mean, DeMar DeRozan killed you. That's the guy. Sure,
they're
he
they're
played fantastic, but I
they're
mean,
a top 6 team in the East this year. They're a
that
top.
doesn't
They're a playoff
that
team.
says nothing to me. I mean,
Okay,
top six
yeah,
is
but
nothing. But
my
yeah, I
my point
agree.
is my point is they're a good team. So it's not like you lost to a bad
The
team.
Celtics
But
should be a
there's still
top
no
four team, but they're
excuse.
playing like they don't want to be there.
Okay, they should be, but they're not. And at this point, they're
They
just
could
not.
be.
They're not though. They're not.
They're
They're
not
not a
right
top 4 team
now.
in these. No, they're. I think they're going to be a playing team this year. At this point, then
If you're going to be a playing team, then don't even do it.
that's not their ceiling, right? But they're not playing up to their ceiling right now, and I
That's what
don't
I'm
see a
saying. I'm
pathway.
saying their ceiling
I agree with
is
you.
a top 4 team. And there's no reason why, as a Celtics fan, you shouldn't expect the ceiling. Because that's
Yeah,
just how things should go.
but they're just not. And I'm sick of expecting more. I'm gonna watch the season, and it's gonna be what it is, and I'll talk about how they can improve. But right now, it seems like they don't care, and a lot of that to me, and I've said this over and over again, Jayson Tatum needs to and it's not completely Jayson Tatum's fault. But when the entire game plan in the fourth quarter shifts from, okay, Jaylen Brown is having an incredible game, let's not give him the ball. Let's give it to Jayson Tatum, who sucks right now. Why? For what reason? That makes absolutely no sense. And I was watching King of the Fourth Quarters video, who is a YouTuber I watch. Shout out Kenny, he's awesome. And he said the same thing. And he's a Bulls fan. So for someone to look at that game, analyze it from a
And take
non-Celtics
pity.
fan perspective, and say they're doing this wrong, I don't understand it. And yes, this whole thing, Jayson Tatum historically, you've said this to me multiple times, gets out to slow starts.
Well, I
That's
don't
not
care
okay
about that.
anymore. That's
Yeah,
not okay
it's
anymore.
true. It's whatever, but it's unacceptable. Jack, and I every time we do a podcast, I have to defend myself. I stand by it. They should have started 8. They should have been able to start 8-0.
They're
All
good
of
enough
these
to. They have
games
enough
were,
talent to, yeah.
aside from Toronto, has been close. They haven't
Let,
executed down the stretch, and it goes
let me
back to
read you
what you
this.
just said.
Let me read you this. Okay, Jaylen Brown first quarter 1 for 5, Tatum 3 for 4. Right, that starts it. But then second quarter, Jaylen Brown 5 for 7. Third quarter, Jaylen Brown 4 for 4. Fourth quarter, Jaylen Brown takes 2 shots. How? Why? Explain to me. Do you have any explanation as to why?
I don't like that when it comes to crunch time, regardless. And this can be a bit of a segue. We can always circle back. But Marcus Smart, after yesterday's game, had some things to say. There
He's
are
not wrong.
people today ripping Marcus, for whatever reason. There are people that have been out on Marcus. Marcus had a lot to say. The thing that is being circulated the most is that he said they're not passing the ball. He said more than that. And I think the thing that should stand out to everybody is he said he wants to play basketball. I heard him get ripped for saying he can only do so much when he's supposed to stand in the corner or something very close to that. Okay.
Yep.
And people are like, well, what do you want? Does he think he should take all the shots? And that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is and other players on the team are being asked to sit and watch these two guys, yesterday primarily Tatum, try and score on their own in the fourth quarter when throughout this whole game, your offense is working for you. The ball is moving great. People are saying Smart had no assists yesterday. Fine. He didn't. Fine. It doesn't mean, Marcus had his best game of the season yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He looked fine. He looked normal, and he didn't look like he was chucking.
Well. No, he shot the ball well. And
I keep seeing the clip of Tatum passing out to him, which was the right play, and he misses the shot in the fourth. Okay, fine. And I also don't think him saying that they don't pass is necessarily fair or what he was trying to say. I don't think he was trying
he
to.
followed it up. He explained himself.
He
He
did.
said he followed up with they're
He said they're
learning
getting
and
better,
growing
whatever.
as players, and that's what they need to work on, which
But
is
even
good.
then, I don't think he's really trying to place the blame on anyone in particular. If anything, he sprinkled it around. These guys are doing what the coach tells them, which is fine. And the coach is doing what he should do, and he's playing through his best players in the fourth quarter as every other team in this league would. Okay?
See, the one difference I will say,
Go ahead.
and it's you should be playing through your best players. I agree with that. Jaylen and Jayson are levels above everyone else on the team. And
There's
that's
ways
correct.
to go about it that are different. Continue.
But Udoka consistently this season has tried to play through his best player, singular, one, Tatum.
Yep.
Right? And in theory, that should work. But when you have guys, and this goes back throughout the entire season, right? If Jaylen's hot, he needs to take those shots. I don't care if Schroeder's hot. He needs the ball in the fourth quarter.
By the way,
You
who was
need
not in
to-
the game most of that fourth quarter, and
I
thought
understood
he was.
that to some degree.
See,
I
you did.
understood
I didn't get it. I thought he was playing really good ball in the third quarter, and then
mean,
they took him out.
He's playing fine, but with a team like the Bulls, at least in my opinion, you have such a tall lineup. Like they were rolling out, 6'9" Derek Jones, Lonzo 6'6" at the point guard. The defensive versatility of Josh Richardson makes sense in my head, at least. Anyways, my point is, you have guys shooting well throughout the game, and then your whole offensive game plan in the fourth quarter is just, all right, scrap whatever has been working.
Yes.
Tatum's a good player. Let's just go to him. Clearly, it's not working because Jayson Tatum right now, hot take, he stinks. He stinks right now.
It's not a hot take. And
He's just bad.
You know what? Yes, it's annoying that Tatum is complaining, and
He's
ever
gotten
since
better
we've
at
done
it.
this
I'll give him
show,
credit. He's been getting
I've
better.
always said complaining is a problem. He shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
The biggest I guess this ties to complaining, but he's not finishing anything at the rim.
No.
We
It's
had
bad.
the pregame yesterday. Tim talked about making threes as one of his three keys. I came out and I said, I want the opposite. Make the layups. First play of the game, he comes out and misses the layup. He must have been 1 of 5, 1 of 6 on layups, or 2 of 6. He made the one in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unacceptable. You are supposed to be the best player on this team. You're supposed to be the next great player in this franchise. And one 7-game stretch to start this season doesn't change that necessarily. It might mean he needs a kick in the ass, sure. But if you're going to be the best player, you need to be able to convert those chances or they can really cheat on you at the top of the key and make sure you can't shoot.
So in the restricted area this season, Jaylen Brown is shooting 75.8%. Do you want to know what Tatum's shooting?
It's in the 30s.
It's not. It's 46.7, but that's still awful in the restricted area.
That's less than
terrible.
half of the times he's at the rim, he makes the shot.
Yep.
And if you took out dunks, it's even less.
Mm-hmm. And in the paint, non-restricted area, he's shooting 40%, which is still not good at all. His best percentage is from the mid-range at high volume,
which is fine.
Yeah, he's allowed to shoot the mid-range. It's ugly right now. Tatum's not making his layups, and the fact that they still continue to go to him, like I told you guys earlier, Jaylen Brown took 2 shots in the fourth quarter. Jayson Tatum took 8. How does that make any sense? And Tatum wasn't even having a terrible game until that fourth quarter, but then he shot 1 for 8 in the fourth quarter, and his percentages plummeted.
I still don't even think he had a terrible game. I thought he was all right. It's just like
he didn't until
these
the fourth.
guys need to stop being asked to force shots late in the game. You're absolutely right, Jack. You said for three quarters, you're up 17 points. Why are you changing what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
The coach, Coach Ime said, these guys look like they took their foot off the gas. Fine. Okay. They, for one, did miss a lot of good looks in that fourth quarter. A lot of guys missed open shots.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But it just looked like they panicked. It looked like they have to force everything. Everything's hard for them when it comes to that because they know those guys want to isolate. And people that want to rip Marcus, he's right to an extent. I don't think he was right to say the ball wasn't being passed because I think a good amount of the possessions, the right play was at least attempted.
I think that he was right in the fourth quarter because it wasn't being passed, obviously, but I don't necessarily think that's completely Jayson and Jaylen's fault. They need to be better at it on the court, but at the same time, the game plan very clearly changes late in the game, which I don't like either. And talking about Tatum, you said, he had a good game. Before the fourth quarter, he was shooting 7 of 14 from the field and 1 of 2 from 3. And then he went 1 for 8 in the fourth, right? And it's because they changed that whole game plan up. And I'll read you this, another eye-opening stat for you. First quarter, Sam, the Boston Celtics shoot 13 of 24. Solid. They have 8 assists in the first quarter. That's beautiful.
And they're
right?
winning.
Yeah, beautiful
After
basketball.
a hot start from Chicago.
Yes, beautiful basketball. Second quarter, right? They shoot 12 of 28. Not as good, but not awful. 5 assists. That's still pretty okay. It's not great, but it's fine. Third quarter, shoot 12 of 21. That's hot. They're hot from 3 as well. 5 assists. That's great. Fourth quarter rolls around. They shoot 5 of 23, 0 of 8 from 3, and have 2 assists the entire quarter. How?
Well, it's almost half their shots.
That's that's ridiculous, right? It's
to
just
be
like,
fair, the shots have to go in for assists to happen. And there was at least 4 potential assists that Tatum set up. I saw somebody tweeted like stills of the shots they got, which are fine.
I can look up the passing stats for you, potential assists and all, right now, which I'm going to do, but you continue your thought.
But the isolation game, whether that's what the players are deciding on the court or if that's what coach is telling him to do, which I don't think it is because he was pissed and it didn't really change. That stuff should not be happening till like maybe 3 minutes left in the game. If at all. There's just
if it
no
needs
reason
to. Yeah, there's
just no reason to veer away from your game plan when all night you're moving the ball well. You're out running in transition. You're getting pretty good looks even if you're not making them. I don't understand why that's so difficult to comprehend.
Yeah, I can't switch it by quarter, which is weird. I wanted to look at passes and stuff by quarter, but it's not letting me right now, it's frustrating. But
Celtics were at 5 of 22, you said, in that fourth quarter?
5 of 23. Yeah.
Okay, so they were 5 of 23.
I just wanted to
Chicago
find
only
potential
took 16
assists.
shots in that quarter. Mind you, they were in the bonus from like 5 minutes on.
Yeah, they took 11
So
free throws and
that'll affect it too. But I mean, you got more attempts than them. It's not like you're getting severely. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking because it's probably not right. The eye test tells you that they got outplayed very badly.
No, they did.
Chicago turned it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why this team keeps doing this. What does it take for them to wake up? You have a close game on opening night, which is sure, I think they should have won, but it's fine. You're going to lose close games. It's double overtime. You gave it everything you had. And Tatum didn't play well, which happens. Then you come home opener, 75th year anniversary of the franchise, and you get blown out by almost 40. You come out, that wakes you up a bit. You win 2 games. You beat Houston, who's horrible, but you beat Charlotte on the second night of a back-to-back, who at the time was undefeated. Great win. You win in overtime. You battled back in the fourth quarter. You showed some heart. Then you come home again. You lose to Washington, despite what their record is. I'm not sold on. Not only do you lose the home game, you go out and you blow the away game too. You lose 2 to them. They are a deeper team than they come off as. They still don't have any business doing the double on you like that. I'm sorry they don't. Bradley Beal didn't even play well in those games. It wasn't him that killed you.
He played well in the second one, but the first one was bad.
He was all right. He wasn't like fantastic.
Well, yeah. Anyways, continue. I agree with the sentiment of your statement,
and then getting back to back, swept in a little 2-game series against Washington, who is an inferior team on paper to the Celtics, doesn't wake them up, or at least it only wakes them up for 3 quarters. They come home and they have the worst loss of the season somehow.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like I said at the start of the show, I'm like baffled. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're wasting Al Horford. I'll say that because Al Horford's amazing.
You're right. They are wasting him. Al Horford deserves no piece of this. He played fantastic. Like I mentioned before, he got a double-double, which stats or whatever. But he's kicking ass. Dude looks better. He's putting up better numbers through 7 games this year than he did his all-star seasons. Give him some help. Somebody help Al Horford.
Yeah, I don't know. It's for me right now. It's Jayson Tatum. I think it starts with him. I think if
I
he breaks
agree.
this slump,
I think he
yeah,
needs to get it
wake
together
up.
around the rim.
He needs to wake
If
up.
you're gonna do one thing, get it together around the rim. Finish your drives. I don't care if you're getting hit. I don't. Finish it. If they're not calling it, then stop expecting it. Because traditionally he has never got himself to the line. I don't know why he feels like it's different now all of a sudden. He has never gotten calls on drives. Why is it such a big issue now?
Yeah, I don't know. Like the new rules, obviously, but he just needs to stop looking for fouls and just looking to finish. Like
In
that.
the
That's
new
the
rules,
key
if
to
I
it.
hear one more guy complain about these rules, I swear to God,
I love the new
guys in the
rules.
league are
I
saying
love
this
the
is a
rules.
great thing. It is a great thing. You're right. I agree with you. You don't have guys grabbing people's arms trying to get to the free throw line. You don't have
Mhm.
guys taking abnormal shots, jumping into defenders to get to the free throw line. Just play the game.
Yeah, and I will say the next thing that has to go is the stop foul, the Euro foul, whatever you call it. That's ridiculous. That pisses me off
I
too
thought
on
that was
both
supposed to
sides.
go. No?
No, it's like stopping the fast break by just fouling somebody, like the thing Grant did all the time last
I
year.
thought you meant like a foul on a Euro step. Yes, the
No,
intentional
no.
foul.
Yeah, that's got to go.
Yeah, that
That's
needs to go.
ridiculous.
Or,
But
or not so much that needs to go, but
yeah,
if you do that, they get to play out the fast break, and then if they screw it up, then they get the ball back.
something
Just
like
play
that.
an advantage. That's all you
Yeah,
should do. All you got to do.
you got to not. Yeah, advantage. That's the way to negate it, I think. But the Tatum thing is it for me. I think Brown has been playing fine
Brown's
this
fine.
season. I will say he doesn't get enough slack for it. He does need to pass a little bit better. But the difference is between the two is Brown will be hot and not passing. Tatum will be cold and not passing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
Brown seems to understand when it's not his game and he's fine with it. And he'll shoot poorly, but then he'll kind of take a backseat role,
He
play his
needs
defense.
to
It's
be more
fine.
consistent, and that ties into COVID. So he gets a little bit of a pass. And like you say, it doesn't seem like he's forcing when he's cold. And all right, so use which I want to say use last Wednesday's game when they lost to Washington. He was ice
Mhm.
cold all game, and all of a sudden he figured it out in the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
They didn't win the game. He didn't get written out. Like he didn't like carry them to a win or anything. But that's a bonus. It almost seems like when like Tatum's cold, there's no coming out of that hole.
There's no
And
remedy
yesterday's
for
another
it.
example. You say he started 1 for 5, Brown, and he makes 9 of his next 11.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tatum starts fine and then he stinks. And I will say a big part of that is because they changed the way they were playing offense. And he was stuck in these isolation situations, taking these crazy, mid-range fadeaways, which he likes, which he makes half the time, but it's not a good shot. And I'm not saying the mid-range isn't a good shot, but the mid-range isn't a good shot when you're getting contested in your face by like two
Yes.
different people. Like mid-range shots are fine when you can get open on them, but it doesn't make any sense to settle for those kinds of shots when you can easily pass the ball around. And yeah, there were a couple examples when Tatum and Brown got double teamed, they passed out and people missed shots. Fine, that'll happen. But for the majority of the season, their go-to game plan in the fourth quarter was forget everything we've done, even if it was successful, and just hope Tatum plays well. And so far, he hasn't, and that's why you're losing games. And I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Tatum's great, but you can't depend on him for your entire offense. Like
No.
if that means he's not averaging 30 or not averaging 25, I don't care. Right? You can't base your entire offensive game plan around okay, we need Tatum to be the alpha cuz he's not. Right now he's just not. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to follow the storyline. Like Jason Tatum is supposed to be the best player on the team, but right now he is not the best player on the Celtics. Jaylen Brown is the best player on the Celtics. Play through
Al
Jaylen
Horford
Brown.
might be the best player on the Celtics, to be honest with you.
You know what? And that's fine. Play through Al Horford if it's going to win you basketball games. I'm sick of the whole play through Jason Tatum no matter what. He's not the best player on the team right now.
Yeah,
And
I don't.
that's okay. And that's fine.
Yeah, I don't care how many points he averages. I care what his field goal percentage is. I care what his
Yes.
3-point percentage is.
Yes.
Score 30 points a night. I don't care. And we've talked about this before with guys. as an example of me calling them bad, like Zach LaVine, if your team's not winning, you're not good. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm consistent on that. I don't take sympathy on the no help thing. I just don't. I don't care if you're not winning. You aren't doing enough. You're not playing. You can score 100 points if your team loses. I don't care. The Devin Booker thing, when he scored 70 in Boston, it didn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lost. He, maybe not in that game, but if you're going to average 30 points a game and your team's losing, you could be averaging 25 and finding a better way to get other guys going to help them win. There are ways to win. Sometimes you just don't have the talent. Sure, this isn't the case. This team showed you for 3 quarters yesterday what they're capable of against a team that people are saying is good.
They are good. Come on. Like, they're a good basketball team. The Celtics played bad, but I'm gonna respect the Bulls. They're a good team. And I know you're not a stats guy, and I know I am, but this one proves my point, and I think you'll appreciate it as well. Jaylen Brown has shot above 50% from the field 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of his 6 games. The other 2 times he shot below, he shot 31% and 23%.
What's the shot differential compared to the 50%? Is that where you were going?
Yep, exactly. Bingo. In his 50+% games, he shot 30 field goals, 20 field goals, 24 field goals, 18. In the other 2, he shot 13 and 16.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jayson Tatum, right? He shot 57%. He took 14 shots. That was the Raptors game, so it's down. 50% from the field, 24 shots. 50% from the field, 28 shots. 41%, which isn't good, 22 shots. The games where he shot poorly, he took 30 shots, 32 shots, and 22 shots. How does that make any fucking sense? How? Why?
I'm not
for what
so
reason?
sure under any circumstances you should really take 30 shots.
Well, I understand it if you're Jaylen
Unless
Brown
you are
against
red
the Knicks.
hot.
Exactly. Jaylen
And that
Brown
was
against
double
the Knicks.
overtime.
Yes.
But I really just don't think that's like healthy. I don't think that's good because okay, go back to what Marcus Smart said. You play through these 2 guys so heavily, that's all teams have to game plan for.
I will say both times Tatum took over 30 shots, they were both the double overtime games, so it makes a little bit more sense. But at the same time, the 2 times he's taken 30 or more shots, he's shot in 31% and 23%. So
Yeah.
it like stop. Just stop. Like, if you're not shooting well, stop shooting the ball. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Luka Doncic. If you're playing poorly, pass the ball to Tim Hardaway. I don't care if you're Jayson Tatum, pass the ball to Marcus Smart. Right? If you're shooting below 30% and Marcus Smart's shooting 40%, pass the ball to Marcus Smart. I don't care. Because at this point, I understand completely the idea of, okay, the better player is going to turn it around. But clearly he's not. So you can't keep feeding Jayson Tatum right now. It's just not a recipe for winning basketball.
I feel bad ripping Tatum. I've tried to stay away.
I don't.
Today.
I don't at all anymore.
No, let me finish. About like his attitude or like he's not trying. And I don't think either one of us have said he's not trying because some guys out there, they just don't show emotion. Like not everyone's KG, not everyone's screaming, pounding their chest, whatever. And that doesn't mean they're not trying. And I do genuinely think Tatum's trying. I just think he's pressing. And he is like still like just like he's like our age. Like it's not like he's like 30.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Get it together. I mean, it's not like we're all asking him to reinvent the wheel. It's like we've seen him do incredible things before. Why can he all of a sudden not doing it? Is he dealing with an injury that we don't know about? Is he secretly like laboring out there? What the hell's going on where he's going to the basket and can't finish all of a sudden?
As much as I'm ripping Tatum, I don't think it's completely his fault. I think Udoka does deserve some of the blame. And I'm not saying fire Udoka because I think the people saying that are absurd.
Well, it's been 7 games. It's too close to tell.
You got to stop. And
I also don't think it's his fault if you just look like over 2 seasons here with 2 different coaches. It's been the same story through 7 games this year. So
I agree.
It's not either of the coaches' faults.
No. Tatum is being put in these situations as well, though. Like, if you're the coach, you got to tell him. And maybe, we don't know what's going on in the locker room. Maybe Udoka's saying, okay, Tatum, you're not hot. Stop shooting. And Tatum's just like, nah, I'm Jayson Tatum. That's possible. I don't think it's likely, but that's possible. It's also possible that Udoka's saying, Tatum, go get us some buckets. And he's cold right now. And maybe he wants to, what I'm saying? You don't really know what the dynamic is there. And
you don't know the whole story. You only know what you can see. But from what we can see, Tatum needs to step his game up. Doesn't mean he doesn't care about the
Yes.
Celtics. It doesn't mean he could never be anything. It doesn't mean he sucks now or whatever. He's in a slump. He needs to figure out, starting at the basket, how to be effective again. That is the most important thing. If you're going to be the main scorer, you need to be able to make the shots at the rim. Because if you're going to create for other guys, which the team seems to ask him to do, the defense needs to be worried if you get inside.
They're not. Right now, I mean, maybe they are because he's Jayson Tatum, but he's not.
Not as
proving them
worried as they
right.
would be with most other
Jalen.
star players.
Jalen. You just use
Sure.
Jalen because Jalen's incredible at the rim right now. Do you see Jaylen Brown when he's driving last night? He looks amazing. I mean, I want to see his stats on drives this season because he's been probably one of the best at driving the basketball this whole year. And obviously Zach LaVine looked fine as well. And I want to talk about the Celtics defense because we've been focusing. You know, let's just transition right there. We were talking a lot about the Celtics offense and how it slumped. Their defense fell apart too. They had up 39 fourth quarter points. They only scored 11, right? And the 11 is an issue, but so is the 39. You can't let up that many points in the fourth quarter, especially after how like they weren't playing amazing. The Bulls were hot, but they were playing better defense in those first three quarters than they were in the fourth by far. So what's the issue there? Is that just, I mean, Udoka was talking about, he said, yeah, you know, we took our foot off the gas. Is it just as simple as that? Like what's going on? Why?
Well, I think throughout the game yesterday, it didn't look like they were switching everything. Now, you can correct me if you disagree.
No,
but
it
at
looks
least,
like they stopped the past couple games. It looks
yeah,
like
it
they've
looked like
chilled out a
early
little
on they'd abandoned that. So that's not the problem today. I mean, listen, guys were hot yesterday. There's no denying it. DeRozan especially. He might have missed 1 3 as someone that's not traditionally a good shooter from 3. Okay, fine. He got a lot of looks at the rim, which is a problem. But even then,
DeRozan
that
was 3
stuff
for 4 from
didn't
3.
matter.
You're right.
That didn't matter until the fourth quarter. Through 3 quarters, they had given up 70 points. That's less than 30 a quarter. That's good defense. Fine.
Yeah.
40 in that 1 quarter is a problem. So what happened is the Celtics started turning the ball over.
Well, no, three quarters, they gave up 89 points.
Did they?
Yeah. Because then the Bulls ended with 120, whatever it was, 126, 120 something. They gave 89 through 3. But the Celtics scored the
Are you
103 through 3.
positive?
Yeah, I'm looking at the box score
89
now.
through 3. Oh,
Against
wow.
the
All
Bulls,
right.
they gave up 89 through 3. Celtics scored, though, 103 through 3. So that's why it
Okay.
looks so good.
Well,
And they were
whatever.
hot through 3. Anyways, continue. Yeah.
The fourth quarter, they start turning the ball over. They hadn't turned the ball over much all game. Now, Chicago is able to get out in transition and get easy looks. That's how you get back into a game quickly, which they did, is by running. They were turning the ball over. Caruso, stuck out to me. He was forcing turnovers, grinding on the defensive end and getting the ball out in transition. They got easy looks. That's how
And
they do it.
even when they weren't turning the ball over, they had how many total turnovers they had in the game? The Celtics in the
Not
whole
a lot.
game had, where's the final box? Sorry, I'm a mess. They had 9 turnovers the whole game, right? That's a good game. That's a really
Yes.
good game. They had 6 through the first 3 and 3 in the fourth. But the reason it looked so bad is because they were just getting such bad looks that the Bulls would grab the rebound and run. They were
Yep.
gone. Right. There's just nothing the Celtics can do at that point. If you get a bad shot and the Bulls get an easy rebound, Caruso's fast, Lonzo's fast, LaVine is fast. Like they have all these athletic guys. Derek Jones Jr. is one of the most athletic people in the entire league.
Javonte
Right?
Green.
Javonte Green. You have all these guys who are just sprinting down the other end. You're just not going to catch them. Yeah, and that's maybe that can speak to the Celtics' effort. But at that point, you're just taking such bad shots that the Celtics are getting easy looks at the other end. And you saw a glimpse of it in the first quarter. Udoka shut it down when they missed a free throw or whatever, and they got an easy dunk, or Marcus Smart missed a layup and didn't get back. You saw glimpses of it, but then they turned it around. The fourth quarter was just completely unacceptable. It was just poor defense, poor effort. They looked like they didn't care anymore. They were resting on their laurels, is the takeaway I wrote about. And you can't do that against a team as good as the Bulls. And I know you don't think the Bulls are amazing, But in this year's NBA, they're one of the best teams. And you can say they haven't beaten any, great competition, but
Well,
right
they beat
now
Utah.
they beat Utah. They clipped and they lost to the Knicks, who I know is another team you think are frauds, but the Knicks are another quality team, right? You're beating two
Knicks,
current
by the
playoff
way,
teams.
lost to Toronto with no Scotty Barnes yesterday. So there's that.
Yeah, that's ugly. But my point is, you have to respect the Bulls, and resting on this, lead you put up through the first three quarters is no way to do that. And you lost. And then that's what happens when you start, trying. And I don't know. And this has been a storyline with the Celtics for, like you were saying, the past 2 years. They stop trying and they give up these leads. And I don't know where it came from. But the only constants are Tatum and Brown. And I'm not going to blame them, but am I wrong?
I don't know what needs to change. There are people saying that one's got to be traded. There are extreme takes out there, and they could be valid. I mean, we don't know. We've seen 7 games so far. You don't know what's going to happen. It could go completely off the rails here in the coming weeks. You've got Orlando, who you should beat Wednesday, but they should have beat most of these teams. And then you play Miami, Dallas, who hasn't been great.
They've been pretty
Milwaukee.
good. Dallas is 4-2. They're not bad.
Okay. Well, Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's all right. They're good.
Um,
Heat are nasty.
Heat.
Dallas is nasty.
Yeah, I mean, you play good. I believe you have to play Utah soon.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, these are good teams you're going to have to play, and you can't beat the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
They play Toronto again, who is apparently proving to be a good team.
Yeah. I don't know. Something's got to turn around. If they don't win against Orlando, then you have to win against Orlando, right? Like that, you have to. And Orlando's bad, but they have good players, if that makes sense. They have players that the Celtics need to account for, is what I'm trying to say. Because if you like Cole Anthony, right? He's obviously he's not an all-star. He's not a world beater.
Killed him in the preseason, so I mean,
exactly. He's playing amazing. He just put up 30 in a win, right? You
against
got to account
Minnesota,
for
who's been okay.
Yeah, so you got to account for him. Franz Wagner has been really good. He hasn't put up a game with less than 10 points all season, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a rookie, that's a pretty good start to the season. You got to account for him. Jalen Suggs has been struggling, but you got to account for him too. They have guys you have to keep your eyes on, and if the Celtics play like they did in the fourth quarter against the Bulls, I'm not gonna sit here and say the Magic can't beat them, because they look like one of the worst teams in the league right now, and they're not, right. They have
That's
the
why
talent.
it's so frustrating. If you had,
Yeah.
Houston's roster, I don't think anybody would care.
No.
You'd
But
say,
you
all right,
have a
whatever.
roster.
Like they're in
Yeah.
most of these games. Like it's good that these guys are out there and competing. But no, you've got a team that the core of your team has played in the Eastern Conference Finals twice, 3 times if you take the year where Tatum wasn't around.
I saw something about this today, and I want to know your thoughts on it, because I think it's becoming more and more true. Yes, they have been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice, but they haven't been on a deep playoff run outside of maybe the bubble year. And I'm not saying they haven't had time to do it, but Brown and Tatum have not been the leaders on a good playoff team yet. They have not.
I think the 2018 run, they were both leaders along with Horford. So I don't think that's valid.
I don't think
and
they were
Tatum
leaders.
was the best player in the bubble.
Yeah, but he wasn't the guy. And I
Yes,
think
he was. He absolutely was the guy in the bubble.
Okay, let me rephrase. In the bubble, yeah, he was the guy. I don't think they haven't had the pressure of being the guy yet. They were the guy, but they haven't had the pressure that goes along with it yet, right? Because you look,
I agree, because
go back
those
to
responsibilities felt well in 2018 they did, but there was no pressure with that because they weren't supposed to do anything.
exactly. And then in the bubble year, no one, like, realistically, they were supposed to be
Kemba
good, but
was
no one
supposed to be the
expected them to
guy.
be. Exactly.
And blame went to him because he wasn't.
Exactly. And so Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum were just, oh, these guys stepped up, good for them. These past 2 years, they have had to be top dogs. And now that they're not, I'm not, it might be getting to them. And I'm not out on them, obviously. I think it'd be foolish to, just give up on one of these guys. But right now, it's getting to the point where you're like, all right, well, what's going on, guys? Like, we got to figure something out here. And it's going to lead to the conversation again, which you don't want to have. Can they be successful together?
You
And
should be able to.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to. They definitely should be able to, but can they? Because those are different questions. And it sucks that they have to be different questions, but they are at this point.
As being the guys, we technically haven't seen it yet, but like we've seen them be one game away from the finals. We've seen them be 2 games away from the finals.
But not as the guys. They were playing like the guys, but they weren't supposed to be. And now that they're supposed to be, it's not happening. And I know it's 7 games in, but it's
I
that
don't
bad.
think I'm not sure how valid that is. I understand it. I understand what you're saying, and it made it easier for them because there were other people that had expectations as well. But if they go out there and crap the bed and either of those runs, like people are still going to say like they crap the bed.
I see the difference is they weren't supposed to be. And I know you just said that, but that's a big difference, right? Because they're not being looked to. Like I'll go through and look at those box scores. They were hot, right? It's not like they were taking like we're saying 25, 30 shots a game. They're just hot and they're making the shots, and that's a great playoff run. I mean, you can equate it to some of these recent playoffs runs we saw. Like Trae Young's an amazing player, but he had an incredible playoff run, right? With no expectations. And it's not like if Trae Young played poorly there, everyone would be like, all right, Trae Young sucks.
Well, if you
right?
want to, correlate that to shots, then what you're really getting at is they're taking too many shots, which is what Marcus said.
I mean, maybe
And the offense was playing more freely instead of being focused on 2 guys. And the ball was just finding it. The game.
I've been saying that.
What you're saying is the game. They're forcing the game instead of letting it to come to them, which is the problem.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I think my point is I'm only equating it to shots to make the point that they were never supposed to be the guy. Like Tatum's rookie year, yes, he ended up being the guy in the playoffs. He was taking 10 plus shots a night. Fine. But that wasn't his expectation. Like the best player on that team were hurt, and the Celtics were just this magical little playoff run that was dope. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. Right. And then you can look at and that was a stepping stone. I'm not saying it was a fluke. Like that helped
because they had to
elevate
play as
Tatum
a
and Brown
team,
to
and they're just
stardom.
not doing that.
Yes, and that
when it
elevated them to
matters.
stardom. Even in the bubble, though, like the Celtics were a good team. What seed were they? Were they the 2 seed that year?
Yes. No, they were 3rd. Toronto was
Okay,
2.
3 seed. Fine. Most people, like, I mean, you could technically say the same about the Heat. That whole playoffs, no one expected it to be a Celtics Heat finals, right? Like that was wild, right? Most people saw, okay, Philly, Bucks, those are the favorites. One of them will make it to the finals. The Heat ended up making it, but even if the Celtics did, like that would have been looked at as a year like, wow, that's crazy. Like it probably would have been seen as less of a fluke because the Celtics had success in the playoffs before, but they weren't supposed to be that team. Now that the Celtics are getting the pressure, because we've seen the consistency from them, they're crumbling. And I'm not saying that they can't be successful, but ever since the pressure has been solely placed on Tatum and to a lesser extent, but still Brown, it's been inconsistent. And I'm not gonna say it hasn't been good
Well,
because
they're
Tatum's
playing
obviously had
like
success, but it's inconsistent.
they're playing as if they don't have other people on the team.
And
They're
they
playing as if
do.
it's
That's the
last
frustrating
year.
part. Yes. Yeah.
Last year,
That's
you
the
could
frustrating
understand
part.
it because there really wasn't a lot of depth. Now you've got guys who have proven to you this season that they're able to contribute. Schroeder has been really pretty solid through these first 7 games. Horford has been fantastic. Okay, Marcus Smart hasn't been great. He was sick. Now he's not sick. He looked fine yesterday. Richardson, when he has been given the opportunity, has looked fine. Rob Williams has
I
been
agree.
fine. He hasn't been the
I
best
agree.
he's ever been, but he's been fine.
And I'm sorry. Why aren't we playing Neesmith and Pritchard? Why? Like
Because
that irritates me too.
it does irritate me. I agree with you. I just think you have too many. It's hard because who are you going to give them minutes over? Ideally,
I think you split Neesmith with Richardson a little bit. I don't think Richardson is levels and levels and levels above Neesmith. Neesmith is cold, but that doesn't mean you should just abandon him. Especially like our friend Tim put out a tweet the other day. You're shooting 2 of 26 from 3, and neither Pritchard and Pritchard got minutes, but Neesmith can't get minutes. How does that make any sense? Like how? It's ridiculous. And circling back a little, the idea of Marcus Smart yesterday, 0 assists. I mean, I don't know if I could find the stat. How much time did he have with the ball in his hands?
Yeah,
Because
like
he's
he
saying
is
like, "Oh, I'm
bringing
just
up
in
the
the
ball.
corner,"
He's the point guard, but I mean, they
but he's
run
not
plays
running
and
the
stuff.
offense. There's a
He gives up the
difference.
ball.
Yeah. There's a difference between bringing up the ball and running the offense. And he's just bringing up the ball right now and dumping it to one of the Jays. And that's the extent of his role in the offense. And in that sense, I understand why he's saying, "All right, I don't know what you want me to do, just sitting in the corner." Because that's just what the offense is right now. It's just like you said earlier. It's just give the Jays the ball and everyone else, wait for a pass, which is that's not offense. That's not how you can be running it. And the worst part about it is that's only the offense in the fourth quarter, right? Like they're playing fine basketball the rest of the game, and then in the fourth quarter they're just like, "All right, yeah, here you go, go figure something out, Jays, and we'll abandon it." And like we said, we don't know if that's Udoka's game plan. We don't know if that's just the Jays trying to take over, but it's happening, right? That's what we're seeing as fans. We just don't know who's to blame. Only
Right.
the people in the locker room knows who to blame. But I can't imagine that's Udoka's game plan, and not even because I like Udoka, just because as an NBA coach, there's no way you can see these past few games and make that your game plan. Just like as a
No,
competent
you can't.
NBA coach.
You absolutely can't. Especially
So
since you've
yeah,
lost 4 close games.
yeah,
Yes, 4 close games, and haven't really made any changes to the way you're playing as a player or a coach down the stretch. It
yeah.
just doesn't make sense.
I don't get it. Um, I'm kind of baffled, like as to why that's a thing. Um, I'm just looking at like passing, like touches, stats to see who gets the most touches a game and stuff, just because I was curious about the Marcus Smart thing. But he's top 4 on the team in
Well, yeah, because he's bringing up the ball.
front court touches, which makes sense, I guess. Time of possession, Smart's third. Smart has more time of possession than Brown does. Average second per touch. I mean, these are ridiculous stats, but he's down the list. Dribbles per touch. Actually, that's interesting. Wow. Schroeder dribbles the ball more than anybody, but hey, I'm frustrated, man. Obviously, we know the Celtics have the potential to be a top team in the NBA, like you've been saying since the start. But right now, they're not. Right now, they're bad, and that sucks to hear because they should be better.
I
But right
agree
now,
they're
they're just
bad.
bad.
I don't want to say they're bad. I want to say they're playing bad because I don't think they're bad, and I stand by it.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah. No,
playing like a bad team.
that's a better way to put it. I understand. Yeah. I don't know. We've given all our thoughts on how we think they should change things.
I really hope they do because I don't like playing fucking scientist throughout
No.
seasons. It's not fun. We
No.
sit here and try and figure out what the hell's wrong. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I know, but I don't have any control over it, which I think is the frustrating
Well,
part. Like,
Tatum
I
making
think
layups would be a start. I'm not joking.
Tatum,
Like, you laugh, but a lot of these empty possessions would be less empty if he's making layups.
yeah,
It's not easy. These
and
guys are obviously NBA defenders at the rim,
mhm.
but everyone else is doing it.
I think Tatum understanding the situation is it for me. Not taking 30 shots when you're shooting 7 of 30, not taking 8 shots in the fourth quarter when you're cold. And again, we don't know if this is Udoka telling him to do it or him just doing it, but that's the problem right now. And Tatum needs to realize that he needs to pass the ball. And everybody needs to realize it, but right now it's focused on Tatum because he's supposed to be the best player and he's playing like shit. So
Yeah.
that's what I've got. Is there any we can wrap up around here unless there's anything else you wanted to bring up today.
No, I don't have anything. I'm tired, man.
I'm
Physically tired,
frustrated.
mentally tired from the Celtics. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't know what else to say. It's really bad right now. So there's that.
Yep. Yeah. Celtics play the Magic. This is we're talking on Tuesday, but
afternoon.
you're hearing this Wednesday morning before the Celtics play the Magic, I think, unless we put this out the afternoon, but I think you'll hear it in the morning. We didn't talk much about the Magic game other than if they don't win, dear God, like please.
Well, that's really all there is to say. Orlando is not a
Yeah.
good team. They are a bad team. Doesn't mean they don't have players that are quality, but they're a bad team.
This is one of the few times I'll agree with Sam in saying that. Yeah, you got to win that game. Thank you guys for tuning in to the From the Rafters podcast. You guys can follow me at Jack Simone NBA on Twitter. You can follow us at Bannertown USA on Twitter.
Do we want to talk about air?
Yeah, definitely pop over to Air. Sam and I have been hosting rooms. AIRR, it's an app. Basically, you can have audio conversations through messages. It's kind of like Twitter with audio messages. It's a really cool platform. We've been doing live takes throughout the games. I think we both kind of stopped after the third quarter last game because we were upset, but we'll be doing it more consistently. We're also going to start doing From the Rafters show air sessions, so you guys can drop some questions. We can answer them on our podcast. We didn't do it before this one because we hadn't had the chance to plug it yet, but we're doing that now. So go check out Air, AIRR on the App Store. It's not on Android right now, but if you have an iPhone, make sure to go check it out.
We'll tweet a link or put a link in the description of this or whatever.
Yeah, and when we tweet out, check it out on Twitter. I've been tweeting it out, so has Sam been retweeting, and we've been retweeting it from Bannertown as well. Even if you have an Android, you can click the link. You don't even need to download the app. You can click the link and interact with us from the browser on your phone if you click the link. So yeah, AIRR, check out Air. We've been on there lately. Shout out them. They've been pretty cool. But yeah, that's all I got. I'll let you wrap it up, Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to check out Air. Potentially, I think we could have a lot of fun with that. The people there seem very nice. The idea is nice. You can have nice conversations with us or send in questions, whatever you prefer to do. If you enjoy the show, we appreciate that. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow or subscribe if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. You can also listen to the podcast on Air. So if you want to do that,
yes, you can.
But yes, follow Jack, follow Bannertown. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show for today. Bye.